Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Creature Feature Drive-In Theater, where we dive into the crypts of cinematic history and take a look at those films that used to flicker across the drive-in screens all over America. On this episode, we follow the residents of a small town as a giant mutant arachnid awakens from its slumber and lays siege to the idyllic little community. So join me once again as we take a look at another schlocktastic classic, Earth versus the Spider. Earth versus the Spider, also known as just The Spider, is a 1958 sci-fi film produced and directed by Burt I. Gordon and co-starring Ed Kemmer, June Kenny, and Gene Person. Teenagers Carol and Mike stumble upon a monstrous spider while searching for Carol's missing father, inadvertently unleashing the creature upon their unsuspecting community. As panic spreads, the town's high school science teacher and local authorities scramble to stop the beast, which proves impervious to conventional weapons. With its web of fear spun across the town and its hunger growing, the residents hatch a plan to destroy the ravenous arachnid before more lives are lost. Directed by Burt I. Gordon, the film blends teen drama with creature feature thrills in classic 1950s drive-in style. Despite the film's title suggesting a global catastrophe, the story remains very tightly focused on a small American town and their efforts to stop the eight-legged menace. I'd like to take a moment now to talk about the film's director, Mr. Burt I. Gordon, affectionately nicknamed Mr. Big. He was renowned for his sci-fi horror efforts, particularly very low-budget efforts, which featured oversized creatures and dramatic scale manipulation. He was also responsible for such films as The Amazing Colossal Man and Attack of the Puppet People. His signature special effects technique was called rear projection, a method that allowed him to superimpose enlarged creatures, often insects, animals, or even human beings, against live-action backgrounds to simulate monstrous proportions. This approach, though technically rudimentary, became a hallmark of his style, and gave his films this surreal charm that has really resonated with fans of atomic age cinema. The film begins with a man driving home late at night. However, his journey suddenly ends in a mysterious crash. The man's daughter, Carol, and her boyfriend Mike head to the outskirts of town to look for him. Their search leads them to a nearby cave where they become trapped in a large web. While attempting to free themselves from the web, they are attacked by a giant spider lurking in the shadows. They narrowly escape and alert the authorities, prompting the local sheriff and a science teacher, Art Kingman, to investigate. Returning to the cave, Carol discovers the grisly remains of her father before the massive spider attacks again. Using DDT, the group seemingly kills the creature and transports its massive body to the high school gymnasium for further study. So the film has a rather eclectic cast of characters ranging from high school teenagers to men of science to local law enforcement officials. Ed Kemmer plays science teacher Art Kingman and delivers a grounded performance that anchors the film's outlandish premise. While Kemmer did appear in several films throughout his career, he was mostly known for his roles on the small screen, specifically the science fiction series known as Space Patrol. Though Kemmer receives top billing here, I wouldn't necessarily consider him really to be the film's lead. Now, to me, the true leads here are June Kenny and Gene Person, playing the roles of Carol Flynn and Mike Simpson respectively. They bring a youthful sincerity to their roles, and their presence here really does reflect the era's shift towards more teen-centric monster mayhem. However, they were both in their 20s at the time, and it does make the high school setting unintentionally humorous. June Kenny would appear in numerous exploitation films, many of which were aimed at a younger audience, while Gene Person would make the transition from acting to producing. The supporting cast may not be as memorable, and their performances may also be a little uneven at times, but it is emblematic of 1950s B-movie storytelling. Campy, but functional. While awaiting further scientific evaluation, the spider remains in the high school gymnasium. During a rehearsal for a school dance, the vibrations from loud rock music revive the beast. It breaks free, wreaking havoc across the school and eventually rampaging through the town. Panic spreads as the spider attacks homes and businesses, leaving destruction in its wake. While coming to the aid of his wife and son, Mr. Kingman manages to lure the spider to the outskirts of town, where it returns to the cave. The townspeople, ill-equipped to handle such a threat, rely on Mr. Kingman to devise a plan to stop the creature. The film's giant arachnid was realized through a combination of the rear projection techniques, some practical effects, and optical compositing to make what was essentially just a real tarantula look monstrous compared to human actors and real-life townscapes. As mentioned earlier, these special effects were a signature of Burt I. Gordon's low-cost style, and he would utilize these effects in most, if not all, of his films. While not as smooth or as polished as the effects in 1955's Tarantula, which also used a real spider, there is a surreal charm to the way Burt I. Gordon uses these techniques to realize his giant-sized antagonists. The authorities surround the spider's lair and use dynamite to seal the entrance to the cave so that the beast can't escape. Carol and Mike, who are oblivious to the chaos unfolding in town, have snuck back into the cave in order to retrieve the bracelet, a gift from her father that had been left behind. Carol and Mike soon encounter the giant spider and realize that their escape routes have been cut off. Mr. Kingman, along with Mike and Carol's parents, convince the crew to dig their way through the top of the mountain in order to rescue the missing teens. Using electrical equipment and some ingenuity, Mr. Kingman devises a plan to stop the ferocious spider as Carol and Mike are chased further and further into the cave. Earth vs. the Spider is a charming slice of 1950s monster madness, with its insatiable creature symbolizing the unintended consequences of scientific hubris, even though the story does lack a origin story for the creature's size. As mentioned previously, the special effects, while modest by modern standards, really does contribute to its overall cult appeal. The use of teenagers as protagonists, as well as the integration of rock music, really helps to underscore the cultural shifts going on during the era, making this film a time capsule of American post-war anxieties mixed with entertainment. Overall, I give Earth vs. the Spider a 3.5 out of 5. It's an entertaining little film that incorporates 1950s youth culture with the tried and true premise of a giant creature on the loose. It's not high art. I mean, none of the films I talk about on this channel are high art by any means. But for those who revel in rear projection spectacle, overage teenage actors, or just the thrill of giant bugs invading suburbia, then this one's perfect. And that about wraps up this episode of the 8-Bit Creature Feature Drive-In Theater. As always, please like and subscribe, and definitely feel free to leave a comment below. Have you ever seen Earth vs. the Spider? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.